This one's a quickie reminder. James Howard Kunstler. He's middle of the road. He's been a good barometer. He wrote a lot of things talking about pitfalls of how we live and whatnot for, 20, 30 years, maybe longer. Well, he went to Substack some time ago, and he's been a good middle of the road barometer of what's going on. And with this recent post, he pointed out, hearing him saying it and observing these things as far as the overall situation, the economic situation, the global situation. There's been predictions for 40 years of collapse and the debt and all these potential downsides to the structure and the operation of our economic systems, of our monetary systems, the whole thing, the whole kit and caboodle. Where we're at now may be we've reached a lot of limits, and we're going to be going through a chaotic, transformative period. Years ago, I had said, we're all part of this wave, and some of us, we're not going to be caught up in it, and they're going to just observe things, but most of us are going to be caught in the wave, and the only thing we can do is ride with it and make sure that our arc is in the best shape possible. And I absolutely think that it's tough because things keep going and they keep going, and we can stretch and pull and delay without consequences for necessary change. But barometers like Western countries and their social contracts, absolutely, and some of the policies being pursued. I mentioned this in the video some time ago. I forget which one, if it was It's Okay to Stand Still, or maybe something after that, where we were able to say, we had all these social contracts and all these systems in place, and we've reached a point where the ability to finance the commitments we've made through governmental bodies, social contracts, what have you, have reached their apex and the ability to pay. And now we have to reorganize. We're being forced to reorganize because what we have is no longer working. It's failing. The fact that France and Britain might have to apply to the IMF for a loan. I mean, in my frame of reference, for my age group, you'd only hear backwards third world nations that are, in small countries that don't have highly developed and economies with a lot of depth to them, where they might be, a single resource, natural resource, or just hobbling along and constantly just in fighting to stay out of the gutter. And now Britain's been pushed to the brink with a lot of policies which were based on trying to implement ideology, but the pragmatic side of them are a failure. They're a failure. They're not practical, and they're not working. They're not working. Energy policies, social contract policies, just not working. And now what we're seeing is the unwinding, and I think Jim Kunstler is absolutely correct. The next few years are going to be chaotic. If you look at do some reading and poking around online for about the book, The Fourth Turning, the Neil Howe, and I forget the other author's name, where they talked about generational turns. Like every 80 years, you go through this cycle. And we are at the end of the cycle. And look at the 1920s, post-World War I, to see the things that happened around the world, in Western nations, in Europe, and in the United States. You had strikes, you had reorganization of the relationship of workers to owners. You had changes to social contracts with using government as a means of trying to improve our quality of living. All these things, they're fraying. They've reached their limits. And it's hard to say because, again, so many things are, being able to stretch and extend and pretend. But we may actually be seeing everything coming to a head now and fraying. We've reached the top of the roller coaster. Now it's the hard side down. And yeah, as I've said through other venues, make sure your financial arc is as together as you can get it. If you don't have one, start. The best time to plant a tree is 15 years ago. The second best time is today. Better to have something than nothing. So look at hard assets. Learn about Bitcoin. Learn about hard assets, numismatics, gold, silver, real estate, not as, as something that you can lean into. That's going to take a hit. The whole monetary system of fractional reserve lending and unbacked currencies that aren't tied to any sort of like a gold standard to act as a regulator within the monetary framework. And I think with the rising human consciousness and with an acknowledgement with this arc of experimentation over the last 60, 70 years and coming back to pragmatic values, pragmatic solutions, pragmatic values, we're going to see solutions to problems. The solutions are going to be things that make sense. It's not going to be steeped in ideology. They're going to be steeped in pragmatism. And they're going to be the things that we need to reorder and create order through all of this chaoticness that's unfolding. So I wasn't planning on making this video in this very unscripted and barely lit stage here, but the thoughts need to come out, and it's late at night and I need to get to bed. I got work tomorrow morning and I want to get my sleep. So unfortunately, this was not in my normal studio setting of my office. So it's unprofessional, it's raw, but the message itself is what needs to cut through and penetrate and have the impact. So there we go. So I'm wrapping this up here. Thanks for listening. Take the nuggets of advice. Build your financial arc. Fortify your financial arc. Look up things like the different forms of human capital. It's not just money. Social capital, knowledge capital, and the other 5 forms of capital. These are things that we're going to have to lean on, and relationship capital, where we're going to start relying more on one another for help. So, and also too, secondhand stuff is going to be a bigger deal, where it's either buying through, all the secondhand venues we've got online, whatnot. But that's something you need to think about too, is your expenditures. And yeah, that's where we're at. So prep yourself, and you can follow the Chronicler's Tale in all the social media platforms listed in the show notes. And with that, be well, everyone. Talk to you soon, and take care of yourself.